Hey everyone, this is Joey Murphy with lightsatwholesale.com. Got another episode here for you. I believe this is episode 4, I believe. Yeah, John Chen. He's going to discuss customer service. What I love about John Chen is how I met him was we started distributing and I told Chelsea, hey, like we need to get some local guys. I know we can help them out. And all you have to do is like if you see a lawn and landscape trailer or something that say they do Christmas lights, whatever, anytime you cross somebody that we can help out, I want you to take a picture of it. I'll engage with it or maybe call them on the phone. And so Chelsea was headed to her job, high fashion retail, and within the DFW Metroplex. And she passed by a landscape trailer and it said they did Christmas lights. And she sent a picture. And then I was like, did you call him? And she's like, no, I'm headed into work. And I was like, okay, I'll call him. And that person had to be John Chen. And what I love about John Chen is he has an uplifting spirit, is very positive. What he stands for, customer service business, I would rank him definitely in the top 5 people I know of how he handles customer service. And so I wanted to get his story on here, what his business is. It's called the Cut Above Lawn and Landscaping. He does that. He does firefighting, and he does a Christmas light business that's attached as well. So this is a year-round business. This isn't just a side hustle for him. He takes it very seriously. So with that, I would like to introduce John Chen. What's up, John?
Joey, what's going on, man?
That's good, man. How you been?
I'm good. Staying busy.
That's right. It's springtime, and your lawn and landscaping is just, I bet it's booming right now. I think everybody after Valentine's Day, I think that's like the key mark to be like, oh, it's coming. You know, we got to service all of our landscape and lawn clients. But yeah, man, tell everybody about John Chen, what he's about, and your business, how it kind of operates and works, and then we'll get into some topics about customer service.
Yeah, sure. So I started a landscape 22 years ago. I've been with the fire department for Dallas for about years now. So they kind of went hand in hand. Every fireman's got a side business, and the landscaping, the lawn service started out as kind of like my business I did on the side on my days off. And then turned into like just this bigger animal than I ever thought it'd be. And so half of those 22 years has been doing Christmas lights, and it's been extremely, I'm not going to say, I don't really know, Joey, what you consider like large size, medium size, small size, but we do about 170-ish houses, residential, handful of some commercial, some HOAs. And some small businesses in Roanoke. So I guess we're kind of medium, but we every year we grow it. I'd say about 5 or 10% every year, and it's been great. It's an incredible business to be in. We make a whole short amount of time, right? It's fast paced, but I love it. That's what I love about it. And it's a challenge, but it's also a good challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're glitching just a little bit, but we can understand you and we can hear you. I just want to let you know. And then, no, like to me, I think like a small business, a medium business, a large business, we talk about customer service. And I think that's the main thing, is upholding that customer service all along the way. So like, as you start scaling and as you grow, you're going to have to try to maintain that. And that's where it gets really hard, because when you become like just your owner, like an owner operator in the business, which a lot of owners are, like I still operate in my business and stuff. And it becomes to where, can you keep that quality going and that customer service going from like, if you own and operate just no other worker in a truck. I remember those days when I was hanging Christmas lights and I wanted everything to be symmetrical and I would redo it. Even if I mess it up, I'm redoing it. I don't care. Customer service has to be up here. We get shout outs on Facebook. Our reviews were just flying off the handle. And then that kind of plateaus a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you start hiring other guys and they don't do as quality. And I talked about it before, but it's that 10% rule of like, when you hire guys, is like, can they mess up 10% of the time and the customer never knows? And that, when you hire for Christmas lights, you need to be a little bit more attention to detail, especially with greenery bows, stuff like that. So with that is, you've been in business for a while. You got multiple things going on. Tell us a little bit about, I'd love to focus on the firefighting thing, because that's your full-time thing. And how does that really affect even your business, or what jobs you'll start to take on and stuff like that? So, because I do know when I was doing it, it was hard with the training and everything else. Sometimes they'll have, truck training, or, hey, you got to go over here and do this. And sometimes it's
Right.
annual training that takes weeks. And you're like, if
Sure.
this lands in November, I'm screwed, and
Yeah.
it's kind of so tell us a little bit about the firefighting and how you're juggling your business with the firefighting.
So I'm a 24-hour 4 on and 48 off, and it's like you said, I mean, I work in Dallas. We're busy. Uh, we do have trainings, and so there are times where I'm not to my customers, but I am fortunate that I've got a really good crew that is professional. They, I feel comfortable letting them talk to my customers when I can't, but I try to get FaceTime in front of all of my customers at
Yeah.
some point in time, and I mean, uh, I return calls as soon as possible. I don't ever let uh, a call or a text go more than 24 hours. I mean, I try to get back to them same day, but I think at the end of the day, what separates a repeat business from one time business is being reliable, and committing to what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. So you're saying,
Because there's a lot.
but even to so like retention, right? So customer
Mhm.
excellence is about retention. It's about reoccurring revenue. You have that with lawn and landscape. Like with Christmas, it's kind of like, you install it, you maintain it, you take it down. It's kind of one piece. It's not
Mhm.
like, oh, let me hang it up and then you know what? In like 2 days, I'm not going to choose your service anymore. Or like next month, I'm not going to choose your service for cutting the lawn
Right.
again. Right.
Right.
Like
Right.
when you have a business that's home service and you're like repeating, we try to retain customers year after year. You're
Mhm.
retaining maybe week after week. You have to keep providing the good customer service.
Yeah.
And so with that firefighting, you were telling me that you were going to do like a 10-week RIT training program.
Yeah. Yeah. We just started our a 10-week RIT training program, which we got to train how to be like a rescue team, right? If you have a
Yeah.
fallen firefighter inside a building, as you know how that is being an ex firefighter. But they,
Oh yeah.
it's a pretty intense training program, but it's all about really it's a very methodical type of training. It's you can't skip steps, and all this stuff really does it relates to running a business too. You skip
Yeah.
steps, you start getting sloppy, and quality of service goes down, like pretty easily, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
um Shortcuts, right? I think that's in life, but you can't take a shortcut in firefighting, because that's how people get hurt. So
Yeah.
you got to have all your gear in place. You got to know where it is at all times. You got to know how it works. You got to be able to use it blindfolded. I mean,
Yeah.
because we can't always see what, even the training,
Yeah. If you
our masks are blacked out, and we got to do left hand searches, right, kind of thing.
Yeah, if you can't tie a bowline behind your back, you can't tie a
Right.
bowline. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's how it
Exactly.
is.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so.
So the RIT training, that's the thing, is that rapid intervention team for anybody who isn't in firefighting and stuff, and that's where you have a crew outside to prepare in case somebody calls a mayday and they have to pull them out. So usually when firefighters are calling that, it's they have a problem they can't overcome. You have to overcome that problem with certain tools and training. And it's like, well, if you said it translated to business, and it's like, well, there's no shortcuts within like to do this, right? Like if you cheat or whatever, you compromise, and if you compromise, then stuff is going to start falling apart, especially on a chaotic scene such as a firefight. But it's like, so with
Right.
that is uh all these the, when you have, I don't want to say it's cheating, but like let's say if you can do a hasty harness with somebody, right? With a
Mhm.
like maybe they got their DRD and you drag them out, right? But it's like,
Right.
no, I need to do a hasty harness. We need to throw them out this dang window. We can't
Right.
get them down the stairs, and then we're gonna have to rappel out the window, and
Right.
it's like, well, if you didn't know how to tie like a hasty harness with that firefighter like real quick to be able to hoist them down with webbing in your pocket, that webbing
Mhm.
being there, the proper training being there, the time that all the reps that you do with that
Mhm.
training, like that
Mhm.
10-week training, there's a reason why it's 10 weeks. It's repetitions, you know what I mean? And it's
That's exactly
it's
right.
it's
Yeah.
every scenario. And so if you tie up that hasty harness, you get him out there, was that cheating? that's not cheating. That's just you being efficient and proficient. And so that I feel that's what happens in business. Sometimes it's like, if I do this, is this cheating? And it's like, that's not getting a CRM is not cheating. Everybody's playing that game.
Right.
Right. And it's like, well, are you thinking in your business of that webbing to create the hasty harness to be somebody on RIT, which is like a
Right.
truck company or rescue company operation thing. So it's like, when you say it translates to business or this cheating thing, I think we're manipulating time is what
Mm-hmm.
I call it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were able to deploy that hasty harness, get that guy out faster, you're just being efficient and you're manipulating time versus, oh, I got to call on
Right.
a radio for somebody who has something like that. Get that resource up here and then deploy it. That's too much. That's not the game we're in, not even in business or in firefighting, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think part of being successful in business is being able to think outside the box, right? You can't be
Yeah.
we can't just be cookie cutter. Even just like putting lights up. There's ways of to skin a cat, right? And there's all kinds of different ways to put lights up. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's got to be done correctly. But I've seen people do it, like make
Yeah.
connections different ways. I mean, with different types of different types, um,
That's not how you do things, right? Oh, you froze up again. You there, John? Maybe if I remove him, put him back. He's frozen. Well, while John comes back on here, I will say that he talked a little bit about before we got started, and it was the state of readiness. And once he comes
uh,
back on here, I'll have him
there you
talk
go.
about.
Okay, sorry
There
about
you
that.
are, dude.
Here I am.
No, you got in and out. I was priming the thing about state of readiness. So you were talking about that before we got on a little bit
Yeah,
about that excellence and about the state of readiness, because firefighting, you have to be ready all the time, right? On
yeah,
your shift
yeah.
and everything has to be prepared. But
Mhm.
then, you know, how does that translate and how do you feel about bringing up that state of readiness even in your business?
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Our shift is from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. And I mean, nobody shows up at 7 a.m. We're there by 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, but
Yeah.
we're there early because even though our shift starts at 7, we have to be ready at 7, meaning that they're here to check out. We got to check out our packs, our air,
Yeah.
our air supplies, our medic bags, everything on the engine. Make sure all the tools are there that are supposed to be there, and same with the Christmas light business. I mean, I'm up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm looking at all my. I just sit there with coffee, and I'm just looking at all my materials, and what do I need? What am I running low on? And there, and I make sure that the truck has to have redundancy in there. They're always
Yeah.
carrying more than one glue gun. They're carrying multiple. I don't care if they
Every-
need it or not. We got to take inventory control and make sure, because that's important. But they have more than enough that they need, because the last thing I need is for them to call me and say, "Hey, John, I don't have any glue sticks." That's
yeah.
that's unacceptable, right? I mean,
It's like a knife right in the heart. You're like, why are
yeah,
you doing this to me right now?
right. I mean, but that's my fault. If they don't have it, it's my fault. It's because
Yeah.
I didn't prepare them, correctly for that day, for the day of work.
But it is nice for them to take the initiative to even say we're out of glue sticks
It
alone,
is.
because
It is for
then
sure.
they can get to the job site and then they say it, and I'm like, why didn't you say this to me
Yeah,
when you
right.
left?
Or
Because I
running
have a whole
low or
box of glue sticks over there, and it's like, so getting everybody to work together is a big one, and that's why I like to bring up the next topic of discussion, which is first impressions and professionalism. Because just like with that glue stick, is if they got to the job site and they're like, we're fresh out of glue sticks, unless you run it over there to them, they don't have anything, all the materials to complete the job. And then what is that first impression for that new install that you just booked, but they can't get their archway glued
right.
and get the experience that they paid for when they pull up to their driveway, and then they message you and they're like, why isn't the archway done? I paid for the archway. And you're like, well,
That's
we
right.
ran out of glue, you
That's
see.
right.
And it's
That's
like,
embarrassing,
doesn't
right?
look good, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is, and it's the last thing you want to tell a customer. Oh, I've got to come back because we ran out of something, and
Yeah.
it's not. It doesn't. You look like like you're not, like you don't know what you're doing. and you're not like who forgets this kind of stuff, right? I mean, that's goes back to just, you have all your, you know,
Yeah, you got to have
but
all the ducks in the row, especially in a
yeah,
Christmas like business, because it is that short window, right?
yeah,
I do
and
know, like, even you probably have felt this at least one time. Like, if you've been firefighting enough, you feel this, but it's like you get like right there, like you're saying 7 a to 7 p, right? But you're really supposed to be there at 8, but you relieve your guy an hour early in case he gets a call, right?
right,
And it's like, well,
absolutely,
so
yeah,
it's like 7:30 the latest. If you're not showing up, like, hey, if I get a call, I'm kind of getting overtime and staying over, and I have to
right,
get my kid. And it's like you want to help
yeah,
out your fellow
right,
brothers, right? So it's
yeah,
like
absolutely,
I know that I got on that truck, but maybe they came back from a call. Maybe they came back from a fire and they didn't totally like fix their rig. They kind of threw things in, packed things up. And now it's
mhm,
like, well, you relieve that person and they're like, hey, can you check all this stuff or finish washing the hose and get
right,
new hose? And it's like, okay,
mhm,
it sucks because you didn't do all the fun stuff, right? And now you got to like clean up, right? And it's like,
yeah,
well, with it is I've been in there and then you get an alarm or you get another call and then it's like, oh, confirmed structure fire. And it's like you hop in your seat, you didn't check your pack yet. And then you go to turn on your pack, and that pass device is supposed to be beep, 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 beep. And you know you triggered it by turning on your
yeah,
pack, and you go to turn it, there's no beep and there's no charge, there's no air, and you have a
yeah.
dead bottle. And
You
then you're
got
like,
the fiber
you
alerts already
unbuckle,
going on.
and then you hop over into the fourth man seat or the fifth, and then you're putting
Yeah,
on that pack, and it's like,
right,
hey, driver, I know you got the fourth man pack, but you got to
yeah,
change your air pack because, and it's like that right there already frustrates me on the call, right? Like I'm already a little behind getting my stuff on. I'm
yeah,
not sitting there. I'm not running through scenarios through my head of, hey, the driver's going to do this. I'm going to do this. And it's like with Christmas lighting, I think it correlates quite a bit that if you don't have that stuff, how do you adapt to it? And then how do you make the customer service aspect of it like no hiccups, seamless? And
right.
it's like, how many times did that happen for you last year where you actually had to like overcome a problem and then your customer never saw it? I think that's there's a special sauce there. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah, sure,
business.
absolutely, absolutely.
How much did you do that last year, would you say?
Um, we've gotten through the years for sure. I mean, and just from and learning from your mistakes, right? That's how this works. Is that you get out there and do it, and you find what works for you and what doesn't. It's last year was just a handful of times, really, but fortunately, I'm available. I take a lot of time off in the fire department in November because I know it's my Christmas light season, right? So I save up all my days off
Yeah,
to
I
use
did
them
the same
all,
thing. Yeah.
toward the end of the year, right? But that's up to me, I mean, I'm available from from crack till 10 o'clock at night, and I mean, I'm out swapping out broken bulbs at 10 at night if I have to, and while my
Yeah.
guys are, they may be working or they may be done, but I'm not going to have them come out and go with my cousin and say, hey, I got a broken, and I know that they're going to be busy tomorrow. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go take care of this now. I'll stop whatever I'm
Yeah.
doing, jump in my truck, and I've already got all my stuff in there, and I'll just go fix it real quick. But that's what, we're privileged, I think, to be doing this job, Joey. Is that it's such a large amount of money you make in a short amount of time, and I feel like these people are paying us a whole lot of money to put lights up, and I think the least we can do is just go a little above and beyond what you normally would do for the amount of money they're paying. I think fair for them to ask that, like, hey, we're paying this money. We would like, to have lights that are working correctly. And,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's a unfair ask, and so if
Well,
I got to go out there and spend 30-40 minutes to go replace a couple bulbs, I'm going to do it.
you point out and you said you feel privileged, right, to be
Yeah.
decorating somebody's house and everything. And I think that kind of hits really big. I think guys who get in this too, they kind of almost, because there is a lot of money in it, is they start to get a little ego, like I'm the biggest, baddest
Yeah.
thing around. I can
Right.
decorate like nobody else, right? It's
Yeah.
very primal, to do that. I get it, but at the same time, is I think your fire service and you being a public servant that translates a little bit to be like, we're
Yeah.
privileged to be going into people's home and actually taking care of their loved ones and stuff when they need
Right.
it. The same thing as
Right.
somebody wants to put something on for their family. And that's one reason why I did quit the fire service and I was okay with it, was because I'm actually offering customer service just in a different way,
Sure.
right? In the
Absolutely. Yeah.
like I'm still within our communities, I'm still
Mhm.
doing things, but it's just different. And so
Yeah.
what you're saying is, you're privileged to be able to even provide that memory for that family. They gave you that gift. That's
100%.
you're
Absolutely.
privileged to do it.
Yeah.
So I love your take on that, is because as you get bigger and bigger, one thing you said to me before we got started too, what do they call, like, comics call it like the green room, like backstage and everything, and stuff goes on in the green room before they come
Right.
out. It's like we were in the green room talking, and
Okay.
John said that I want to move to reliability and punctuality because with what you're saying about that, you're privileged to do that, like to be able to do this project for this family and stuff. Is you were talking about overcommitting in your business and
Right.
what that means with reliability and punctuality. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so my business model might be a little different from others, but I'm a small business, right? And I run it as a small business, and so for me, quality of workmanship and quality of punctuality and quality of customer services is the thing that is I'm trying to set myself apart from the other, you know, is that, hey, look, I mean, we're committed to your project and only to your project. I do one job at a time. We I just have I have one crew. Some years I'll run two, but that second crew will be me and maybe my son or something like that. But I have one main crew that goes out and do one job at a time. I do that on my land business as well as the Christmas light, but I don't pull my guys off a job to go start another job and then to come back to finish that other job and then send them to do a third job. And
Yeah.
it goes. So I think it's easy because margins are so good in this business and the money's so good that I think it's really easy to get a little greedy and say, I think I can fit in one more house, or I think, I can, I've got five houses, six, we'll just start a little bit early and work a little bit later. You can do that, but what you're giving up, give and take with that, right? Yeah, you might be able to get that extra job done, but think of the repercussions of it. Is the quality still going to be there? Are you burning your guys out, working until 10, 11 o'clock at night? I mean, and then the next morning they're just, they don't want to work because they're so dog tired from the day before.
Yeah. What
I
like
mean,
what did you compromise to
yeah,
squeeze so hard?
yeah,
And it's like you actually squeezed really hard. Now your guys are just trash. Now
they're
they need a
dogs.
day
Yeah, they're
off,
dog tired.
and
Yeah, and then what?
that
What if you
extra
have a
3
staff
hours
member?
didn't cut
Yeah,
it.
what?
Yeah.
And like, and Joey, I was told you, like, this is a business of time is money, right? And like, what if they do run out of glue sticks? Then, and an hour delay, just going to pick up some extra bulbs or some glue sticks or staples or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now you're really under the gun,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're frustrated. They're flustered because, like, oh man, we're going to be here till o'clock at night. I mean, there's nothing good comes out unless you have the scalability and manpower to do it. I stay away from it because for me, I
Well, yeah,
I
you're
want to take
saying
care of my guys and I want to take care of my customers and I want to be able to provide what I committed to providing without making it uncomfortable for my guys and for myself and customers.
yeah. No, I feel you on that one. I
So
wanted to
next
chime in.
house.
I think I know where this house is. I think I know this house that you did.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's in South
This
Lake,
this
isn't it?
was my it is. This is my daughter was in gymnastics. It's her orthopedic surgeon's house.
Oh, is it? Yeah, we do the house across the street. I know it very
Oh
well.
no way.
So when
Oh
I
wow.
saw it, I was like, I gotta say something. You know. But yeah, what I like about what you're saying about your guys and everything else is that, if we talk about the 10% rule of like how guys can mess stuff up, but then it's like if once you scale and get bigger, you can actually have like a full-time maintenance truck, right? And let's say you got
Mhm.
multiple crews and it's like these are our installers, this is our maintenance guy. But then
Yeah.
that maintenance person, what is he doing? Half the time, I guarantee you he's fixing people's mess ups. Not even
Yeah.
like it's an
Yeah.
internal mess up, not an external mess up. External
Right.
mess ups are like, wind and it just knocks some lights, or like a
Yeah.
squirrel
Can't do
slides on a
anything about
metal
that.
roof. Like, I don't know what
Right.
these squirrels do, but they do surf metal roofs, and then when they get down to the bottom, they just, like, hop off, you know? But it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, why did that happen like that? And it's definitely a squirrel. But, they go to fix an external problem, they probably have no problem with it, but then you fix the internal problems of that 10% mess up, and then
Yeah.
it's like, well, maybe that 10% ends up growing to 15% because they know they can rely on the maintenance person. Then the
Right.
maintenance person gets frustrated because they're like, "Why am I working harder when if you guys just followed the standard, the company
Yeah. I
standard, we
mean,
wouldn't have this problem."
the work
So
is sloppy.
yeah, it's sloppy, right? So the customer service goes down, then there's more maintenance, then your crews are kind of getting aggravated at each other, and it's like, how do you
Right.
keep all this together? When
Yeah.
you're running smaller, people have to be a little bit more accountable. Now that
Mhm.
10% guy can never get to 15% because you'd catch it in a heartbeat. So I think it's planning the systems around it when you try to scale. It's very difficult. I don't want to say like I have it or anything. I'm just aware of it. And then I try
Mhm.
to like actually, if I'm going to go bigger or do this, and trust me, we do things all the time where, I don't like internal problems. The external problems, like if a trailer tire blows, I don't care. It's
It
do you have a
happens. Yeah.
right? It happens. But
Yeah.
do you have a spare tire on your trailer with a jack that you can fix this right now?
That's
Oh
right.
no, we didn't put that spare tire on. We knew we were supposed to inventory that. And then I'm like, okay, now it's a real problem for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so building those systems out, 7-pin on trailers, man,
Yeah.
because we tow
That's true.
trailers, right?
I mean,
Those
could you
seven
imagine?
pin
Could you imagine that? We get a CPR and I don't have a BVM on me because
yeah.
someone didn't
What
restock it. It's
you're gonna
like
do mouth to mouth, John Chen?
that's
No,
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you got to
no,
kick it old school, then I guess so. But I
no.
mean,
You
I
ain't
would
gonna
prefer
do it.
not to. You know what I mean? But again, that's going back to that state of readiness, right? You got. I
Yeah.
mean, prepare for everything.
Yeah.
And also, things happen. They do. Like that, you're talking about the 10% thing. I mean, there's things that are gonna happen that are out of your control. But man, I mean, that's why, I get up early so that I could, and I look at all my materials and all, what's going on in the truck and the trailers, and I'm like, what could possibly go wrong? Like, do they have everything? And I double, triple check everything as much as I can. Do I miss things? Yeah, sometimes I do, I mean, but that's
Yeah.
when you jump in your truck and go out and bring it to the guys as soon as you can. I mean,
Well,
there's been
it'd be nice. What I struggle with is for everybody to have that same mentality is like, hey, we have all these projects today, go through, and it's like, how could we mess this up, you guys? It's like, oh, we don't have any like wire string to hang the wreaths, and the wreaths weren't
yeah,
prepped from the warehouse. And it's like, well, you can blame the warehouse people for not prepping it right, or you
right,
blame yourself, self accountability to make
yeah,
sure you had that on there so you can fix it real quick. But the guys on the trucks and trailers is like, well, I'm relying on the warehouse people. Don't rely on them. Okay. You should rely
right,
on them to a 10% degree. Don't rely on them getting your stuff together. When they
yeah,
do, awesome. They did something
right,
that you didn't think was going to happen. Now you check it. And then your John is there checking the whole business, right? And it's like if
right,
you can get all your guys to have that same mentality, it's like you create a machine that is a business that we call a business,
yeah,
and it's so
right.
powerful. But can everybody get on that same mentality and mind? Not everybody's there, and that's what's really hard
Yeah.
about business is morale and
I
stuff. So
mean, Joey, no one's going to care about your business more than you, right? I mean, and
yeah,
that's just human nature,
but I want
unfortunately.
people
But
to, John. I want them to. Like,
I do too. I do
it's
too.
like
I mean,
show up.
I want everybody to
Yeah,
care. I mean, like I
yeah,
care. And you can only do so much. But at the end of the day, I mean, I always take that mentality of, I'm not going to point the finger. I'm going to pull the thumb because, at the end,
yeah,
the responsibility falls on me. And if something goes wrong, they're not gonna blame, you know, my they're gonna blame me, as they
yeah.
should, because it's my business. I'm accountable, not my guys. But like that stuff rolls downhill too. I'm gonna come down on them, and say, hey, we need to do better.
Well, I try to make it where I want everybody to be successful. This is talking about like some crew stuff,
Hmm.
but let's talk about it for a sec because I try to get it to where people don't have to think as much as humanly possible. So, how can I shrink your critical thinking down as much as possible in the business with systems or whatever it is. And that's my goal, is to do that. So when you come to work, you're not like, oh, what do I have to do? And it's like, hey, you got to pull everything of all these projects. I don't have anything staged, and you need to prep 2 reads, because we're just not there. It's not, you know, coming about where it's actually like ready for them. And so I want people at all times to basically in the business to try to think about how it can get messed up. Like that critical thinking is, I just need you to stop for 1 second and check the trailer. That's the biggest time, the biggest impact that you need to think. And it's right when you come in, and and you're going out and you're drinking your coffee, or you're drinking your what's it called? Celsius or Monster. Like I know we hire some roofers and stuff to do some properties for us, and he brings me an energy drink at all times.
Sorry,
There
Jeff.
you are, John.
Sorry
You're
about
good. And so this is the point in the day where this is where, if you have to think the most, it's right here. It's right in the beginning. It's everybody comes in. It's, hey, what's up? What's up? We're super energetic to get that mind flowing just a little bit. And it's like, hey, you got this. Oh yeah, I got this. And it's like, now people are asking, do you have these things? So now you're thinking, maybe I don't have to think as much, but you still are thinking as much. And that's what I have to encourage, is like, hey, what do you have on your truck that you need a lot of today? And they're like, seems like we're doing a lot of gluing. How much glue sticks you got? And it's like, let's go get some glue sticks. And that's how we talk in the morning, right? And I'm there to help, like what John's saying, is to oversee the thing, make sure, hey, did we get that out, or did you not do this? Like I'll have a side comment, and I'm like, where are we at with it, to get the crews out and stuff like that? Because if they look at me and they're like, I don't have any of this together, I don't bash them or anything. Like, you should have had this done, but at the same time, what do we need to do together right now to get this out the door? Because I can fight with you all day long. All that's doing is spinning the wheel and wasted time. Let's do this, and let's get the next 3 days going. Let's do that. Okay. And then that's my assertiveness. Right. And so, with it is moving on to transparency and pricing and services. I know with us, our terms and conditions is a big one. Being really intentional. I do know we have late payments, because that's always a thing. This past year we had the most late payments, and I was like, man, I really don't want to charge. Like, I really do have in my heart, I really just pay me for my services. This is good, but I don't want to come back to you and hit you with more money. And like, it says we don't want to spread late payments. Like, we just want to spread like holiday cheer. Like, please don't make me do this, But as a business owner, you have to be like, hey, it's due now. Like, this is a business. We do have cash flow and stuff. So I know in our terms and conditions and our services, we're very, very intentional with our CRM, and we have accountability there with our CRM to make sure we're always saying what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And that's where our tidings of comfort and joy comes in, right? Is being very clear on your communication. And we're going to over deliver, even if the customer, they may have a complaint or this or that, but how do you, on transparency and pricing and services, how do you view it? How do you do it in your business? And what would you say it rates on like the importance of this customer service stuff?
Yeah. So, I kind of standardize my pricing, honestly. I mean, I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the houses are all kind of around the same. They're 2-story, 3,500 square foot homes. That's just the house we do. I mean, and just because of the area we're in, I do some small homes, but most of them are all almost kind of the same price. And and they're all, so to keep it simple for myself, I charge, I charge a specific price for windows. I charge a specific price for garages. 2-story homes are pretty much the same. I mean, the elevation might change it a little bit depending on, if a house may have, but I guess, there's not as much of a black and white science to my pricing, because I charge because I sell my lights. I don't lease them. So I charge a service price, and then I charge a price. And usually, typically, that price for lights is about 30 to 40% more than the install price. And I've done this, and it's never been an issue for me. But I lights for life, as long as they're my customer. The minute they leave, the warranty is null and void. But I mean, I feel like it's just one of those things, and I'm not sneaky about it, but if they're using us, we're fixing the lights anyway. But it just makes,
Yeah.
I think, someone feel good to know that they have a lifetime warranty on their lights.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I
and
mean, I think everybody that when they do their model, like some people will sell, but then they'll store their customers' lights and they don't call it lease and they just take care of them and they charge a storage
yeah,
fee. I know there's so many which ways to kind of do it with your service, and whatever works for your service is you should do. You know what I
yeah,
mean? What's interesting to me is, especially in the past couple of years, man, is since 2020, the value of the dollar's dropped,
right.
5% at
Oh
least
yeah,
every year. And
yeah,
now, like the reports of the value of the dollar, just based on what's going on economically now, is based
mhm,
since 2020. I mean, you're looking at least 30%. I mean, I could type it in Google right now. I know it was 25% over the past 4 years, and I know it's not getting any better. And it's like, well, if you sell them the lights and everything else with economic impact, your terms and conditions and everything, have you raised prices before? Or like how do you approach raising the prices of what you have? Not even just to like get your company up, like, oh, these are profit versus man hour too low. I'm talking about just even over time in business based on like the value of the dollar, you need to
yeah.
adjust things, not even
Right.
so how do you handle that?
My price has gone up probably about 25%, honestly, over since I started, um, across the board. And the reason, part of the reason why is obviously like, material costs has gotten higher,
Yeah.
labor costs has gotten higher, and I've taken on other things along the way. Like my storage unit's bigger now. My insurance, my commercial insurance cost is higher now.
Oh, yeah.
Um, everything has kind of gone up in price. So but the biggest expense for me is labor, right? I mean that's going to be the biggest thing. But that has gone up quite a bit too. I mean, when I started started this business, I mean, I was paying guys like $10 an hour. I mean, my head guy, my top guy that is, and he's worth every penny. I pay him $35 an hour now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
But
I mean, he probably deserves it, you know?
yeah, I mean, he can get. I mean, a house that would take two guys, him like two normal guys, 3 hours to do, he gets it done in an hour and a half the time. And me to be able to do an extra house because he's so efficient and he's so fast. He's
Yeah.
worth every penny. I mean, I probably pay him more if he wanted more. I mean, they're hard. It's hard to find guys like that. It really is.
Yeah, and the other thing is to be humble enough to keep operating in that capacity where you're like, "He probably could get more, like, I really
Yeah.
need him, like, I would
Right.
sacrifice more on my end if he absolutely needed it," but
Yeah.
what I love about it is that somebody came to work for you. They agreed to like what you would pay them, and then they actually put their best foot forward, saying this is
Yeah.
good enough for payment. Because what I see in the new generation is they're like, I got 1 year under my belt. Can I get some more? And you're like,
Oh yeah. Right.
some more? Like, what did you do different? What did you do more of that? Like, do you understand how to operate lifts, the ropes? Like,
Yeah.
what do you know more than what you did last year? Do you know how to do a tower tree by yourself? Like, if you
Yeah.
do, then
Right.
maybe we can have the discussion. But that's what I don't like the I love when people in a business can put their best foot forward as an employee and really
Hmm.
try to elevate themselves because you can in a company,
Hmm.
right? That's what the beauty of a
Hmm.
company is. And then at the same time,
Right.
elevate everybody else around them because it's not just about themselves. When you have somebody that's
Sure.
really contributing that much, is they're actually considering themselves, but they care about you. They care about the people that they're riding with, right? It
Right.
becomes a different type of company, and
Absolutely. 100%.
that's what I love. That's what I when I see you, your guys, your trucks, everything. You guys are so professional all the time. Your customer service, you bleed
Yeah.
that onto your people. They do get that. You do resonate that, and it does come out under your people. So I'd like to talk
Yeah.
about the post service follow up, which is interesting because I had this as a topic of discussion. But what happened is you're saying like you do one project at a time. You pretty much like if I dedicate time to you as your customer, we're gonna do it till it gets done. We're not gonna move on to another project. We're not gonna overpromise. We're not gonna over deliver. We're not gonna
Right.
overcommit, right? And so
Yeah.
that makes it where once you stop that job and send that invoice, what are you doing as a follow up? I mean, are you doing like, hey, how do we do? Here's a review thing, or like, is there really any follow up because you did execute and then ended it? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it goes back to just being just me personally. I mean, I can't. I'm not gonna start another job until I know that the job that we started is done and done to customer satisfaction. that's just me. And I mean, if it means that, you know, he's saying, hey, there's this fence you put up is a picket short, so we'll fix it. I mean, but I'd rather fix everything and stay on the job site until that job is completely done and that customer saying, man, this looks awesome, like, just send me an invoice for the final amount. And they, for one, like, they have no problems paying me what they owe me. There's no question that they can't come back to me and say, well, I wasn't happy about this or I wasn't happy about that. No, they were happy because I stayed there with them on
Yeah,
site and talked to them and say, tell me, does everything look perfect you want it? And if it's not, tell me now so we can fix it, because we're not leaving until you're completely happy with everything. And
yeah,
it gives me peace of mind as a, and it keeps me, it keeps that customer satisfaction high too, so that when they do a Google review, I mean, it's it has to be 5 stars, because they can't, I don't, there wouldn't be any reason to not, and
yeah.
then,
You don't even give them an option to click number 4. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
4-star review is
yeah,
that's what I like, is that you're along the whole way, because a lot of times when look at what's happening is you're on site, and then you're actually saying, like, we talk about handling complaints as the next topic. You don't even give them an option to complain. You give them an option to speak up about the service, but that a complaint is, I ended the service and then there's something that's wrong, right?
right,
And I think what happens when you send trucks and crews is, sometimes if you're not doing that on the customer service aspect of talking to them actively while the project's going on, hey, how's everything going? Are you feeling great about
right,
everything? And they're like,
right,
no, actually, this is pulled back a little bit. Can you bring the flowers up just another 12
yeah,
inches or something?
yeah,
And you're like, okay, oh, are we going to do that? And it's like, well, we're going to do that. It was on me because I didn't even ask where exactly they wanted it. And then from there, it's like, do we need to change our terms and conditions to ask this questions on a quoting process of the distance away from that hardy board or the edge or the brick or something like that? And so I think the way you're doing it is, man, if you can bleed that into your crews, which I feel like that's what's going on, is I remember there was a what was it, like a podcast or something, and I saw it years ago, and they were saying, like, at the end of what you're done as the sale is like, hey, did we give you a 5-star experience? And you ask the question directly,
mm,
and they're
right,
like, yes, great. Would you bling bling, and then you send the thing for the review? Would
right,
you be willing to, as we pack up, if just take about 60 seconds, give us a positive review? Hey, can you post a picture of it while you're here? Because even people were saying the Google reviews, if you have a picture along with the review, it's
yeah,
like 3 in 1, right? Like it's
mhm,
so much more impactful. So it's encouraging them to do that. Give the review. You handled every complaint. They can't give you a 4 because they literally said it was 5 stars.
right,
You back them into a corner where they're just like, yeah, I can do this for 60 seconds. You pack up and it's like, hey, did you give us that review? Sure did. Just posted it. Thank you so much. That's that customer service that I
yeah,
think a lot of people are missing. I think we're missing it to a degree somewhat, is because we do a lot of remote stuff. We do, tidings of comfort and joy, gift baskets and stuff. But
mhm,
as the project's going on, it's like, are they home? Can we talk to them? How do we refine our services even more as we try to scale, is to give that customer service? So how would do you get many complaints because the way you're doing it? I'm sure you get something, right? Like there's always something in
right,
a business, but like, how do you
right.
handle
I mean,
that? How does it happen?
you can't. I mean, you're not going to please 100% of people 100% of the time,
Right.
right? That's just you're just not. I mean, just people are going to complain sometimes just to complain, and I mean, at the end of the day, I can only do what's in. But one of the things I think has been successful, and that I do, that I've made it a habit, is even after we've left that job, or that I always follow up 2 to 3 weeks later. Hey, how are the flowers looking? How are the bushes doing? Because sometimes they just, I think customers feel like once that person's gone, they're not going to ever see him again. No matter, they can call them a million times. Oh, they're not going to answer their phone. So I try to be proactive, or text them. Hey, I know we finished your job up a few weeks ago. Is everything still looking okay? Are your bushes that we planted, are they thriving? Are they healthy? Are you watering correctly? All that kind of stuff. Because I mean, my goal is long term, right? I mean, I don't just because they're happy today doesn't mean they're and for whatever reason, they might not be. So I try my best I try not to wait for them to complain to me. I'm like, I'm going to call them and make sure that everything's still okay, right?
Yeah, I like
Um,
that.
and that goes a long way, I think, because every time I do it, they're all like, man, like, hey, I appreciate you following up. Yeah, everything's great, but every now and then you'll be like, man, that grass you planted, that sod, there's a couple pieces that are dead. Like, boom, like, hey, give me
Yeah.
a day. I'll send my guys out. We're gonna replace it, no problem.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that I know that subconsciously people sometimes will have like the project's done and then they have service work to be done, but then they don't communicate it
Yeah,
because they just don't, right? Like it's like, and then they're a little unhappy, but
right,
they're like, why didn't they do this in the first place? But at the same time,
exactly.
there's no self-reflection on them to be like, well, I know he's got Jobber and I have this portal and I can log in and I could put a request in, or I could text the number, or I could email him, or I could call him, and I could get this done, but I have so much going on. And that's where we try to do the same thing with our customers is like, if I bought this service, how would I want it done? Whether I have a problem or not, I want it to be fixed without even almost communicating it. It's like
Right,
everybody's that way. So like
yeah,
with you is like if you planted flowers and like 3 of them had transplant shock maybe, or maybe
right,
overwatering for
yeah,
whatever it is,
yeah,
they end up dying and then it was all spotty. And then your customers, like every time they pass by it, they're like, man, those 3 kind of stand out. Those
yeah,
3 stand out. He did a great job though. John did a great
yeah,
job, but
yeah,
I'm not like he deserves every bit of money, but I don't want to bug him. He's busy, right? He's got
exactly.
other people's flowers. And it's like, but when you do that follow-up call, they're like, you know what? There is 3 flowers. I
Yeah,
wasn't going to say anything, but now I can. Now you give them a
right,
platform to speak,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think that helps with your customer satisfaction. And then you stop it from being a real complaint, right? We said that the service ended, and then there's the 3 flowers are a complaint. Well, how do you stop that from when you get off the job site? And you're saying a couple weeks later you do a follow up, and it seems like it's aggressive. It's not like an automation follow up with like your
no,
CRM. It's like,
no,
hey, Mary Sue, how are those flowers? Are the bees a
it's me.
buzzing? And it's like,
Yeah,
no, actually 3 are dead. And you're like, we'll get those
yeah,
fixed right away.
yeah,
That is ultimate customer service.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really you'd be amazed at how much someone appreciates it. Like, oh my god, like you text me. It's funny you just texted me because like I felt bad. I was gonna say something to you, but it's already been a few weeks, and I didn't want to bother you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got one of the bushes you planted is not. It's just not looking very good, And I'll go out there and I'll say, hey, send me a pic. I'll come take a look at it. But they'll send me a picture. I'm like, yeah, it looks like it's probably not taken. Let me just other one. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
$20 bush, right? And it
Yeah.
takes my guys 15 minutes to go replace it. It's not a big deal, but that kind of service goes a long. It really does, and I mean, I think you
Well,
just don't do that these days anymore.
yeah. I think the same thing is, man, I think it resonates with what you're saying about like privilege. Like every customer
Yeah,
that pays you for your service, I truly believe John Chen is like that bush, $20 bush takes my guys 50, no problem. It ain't like you're like
yeah,
Italian. You're
yeah.
like, it ain't a problem with
I
fixing
mean,
it. You know,
I
it's like,
yeah, just
it's
like
no
you and I
worries.
were talking about
Hakuna
earlier.
Matata, you know?
When what you and I were talking about earlier about the Christmas light business. I mean, I really truly, man, I feel really pretty humbled and appreciative that I'm even out there putting these up for a family. They paid me a
Yeah.
lot of money to do this, and I mean, I don't take it for granted. I really don't. I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to fork over that kind of money to put Christmas lights up, but it's
Yeah.
important enough for them to spend $2,000 for me to put lights up or $3,000. I mean, I'm like the least I could do is provide some quality behind that kind of money, right? I mean, they're not going to like Walmart to get Christmas lights. I mean, they're wanting a professional company that's custom cutting their lights for their house and to make it look professional. And they
Yeah.
don't want they're not look they don't want 2 or 3 bulbs to be out for 4 or 5 days. It's
Yeah.
unacceptable to them.
I was talking to another installer today and you know, we kind of chalked it down to like we're just talking openly, right? And I think we chalked it
Mhm.
down to is where, well, what's the variable in your business that you can adjust, right? A variable is
Yeah.
something that it's not a constant. A constant is time, right? Time is a
Mhm.
constant, but you
Yeah.
can manipulate time by your actions, like that hasty harness, like I was saying, right? And it's like,
Right.
well, what can you do in your business that you can ultimately control to separate yourself where people would want to buy you, right? And it's like, well, pricing of products, it will fluctuate, but that's not a variable because you need the equipment to do the job. That's a constant.
Hmm.
So the pricing will change your net worth, but like you can't change that. Like what's happening in tariffs right now, you can't change it.
Yeah. No.
So what are you gonna like? What are you focused on right now? Are you focused on tariffs? Or are you just watching them like move? Are you actually
Hmm.
like how am I going to adapt to this in my business? And so what we came up with was the customer service aspect. You can do
100%.
it with in branding, right? And that's
Right.
customer service and branding. It's not even marketing, none of it, because that's a thing you're portraying that is a variable, or you're trying to attract things and stuff. There's a stuff in your business that exists, which is branding, which could be
Hmm.
systems is part of branding to make you look more professional and
Yeah.
do that. But it's you as a person to where when they buy lights from a cut above, they know that if there's something wrong with it, it's going to get taken care of, bar none. There's not even a question about it, which
Yeah.
bleeds into your branding, which means you don't have to even do as much marketing because people are like, this is the guy. If there's any problem, he comes right over, he fixes it. He's very honest, very intentional. He does not overcommit. I think that's what, like, you say these things about yourself, but I think it resonates with your customers in your business. They know that you are. If I were to interview one of your customers right now, who is John Chen at a cut above? And they would say these things that are a broad thing, like ethical or something like that. It's like, in business, does he have business ethics? Check.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why people choose you, right? It's like, oh, I can't, like, you're in an area, you're in my area too, but there's a lot of guys that hang Christmas lights. Like, you're seeing shoddy work and everything, but how do you communicate that with? And it's like, well, you can hire that guy, or you can hire John Chen.
Yeah.
John Mother Brother Chen. That guy right there,
I,
he's going to
I,
do the job. He's going to do it right. And he's a firefighter, which that's what me and Chelsea talked to about last time is you can, are all firefighters, can you entrust in them? The answer is no, right? There's so
no.
many people, everybody wears the badge or whatever. But for the majority of what it stands for and what they signed up for is, yes, it does give a little bit of, like, you do have the Maltese cross
Yeah.
on your logo, and it's to
Right.
resemble what that means. You know what I mean? And so
Exactly.
I think with the customer service and personalization is, if somebody does it, I think you even do it sometimes better than we do. And that's why I'm interviewing you right now, is because you add that personalization touch. You remind me, you keep me grounded to be like, are you calling them as a follow-up? Are you closing while the project is going on? Are you communicating while it's going on?
Right.
Not before, not after, wow. And it's like, how
Right.
many guys do that? How many guys can chime in and say they do that? And I don't think there's many. And so that's what I think separates you. But tell me a little bit more about the personalization of a cut above. And then we'll move on into like some technical stuff with your guys of how to maybe maintain this with the customer service. But give me a little bit more about a cut above and the personalization you guys give.
Um, you mean as far as like what's like setting us apart from
Yeah,
other companies,
like
or
when you, it's more of like a branding question, I guess, is like a cut
yeah,
above. It's like when people think of that, you think of your company a different way and you're trying to like portray this as much as possible. But it's like, what personalization touch does somebody get that you see other businesses don't do? Like, maybe you knock on the door before you start work. There's some guys who
yeah,
just come and don't knock on a door, and they're on your
yeah,
property in your
crazy.
backyard. It's like,
Crazy. I mean,
right. So what do you
I,
do?
I'll say, for a small investment, I mean, like t-shirts are, I mean, just form of some kind for your guys yeah, I mean, to me, like I pull up and I see my guys out there and they all are in the same shirts. I mean, I think it just looks professional. And I mean, it makes you,
Uniformity. Yeah. I mean, the
yeah,
fire service has it, you know?
it makes you look legitimate, and I
Yeah.
think it's for small investments, it goes a long way, I mean, stuff like that. And I think just almost kind of over communicating, and I always teach my guys, man, like, you got to be personal with customers, because I can't be at 20 different places at one time, right, or two different places. So I mean, I really try to harp on my guys, like, don't be afraid to talk to the homeowner, afraid to talk to the decision maker, like, and you know I mean, I'm very fortunate that I've got guys that are great, and I get good feedback. Hey, your crew is like they're so nice and they're professional, and we got them lunch the other day because they were working so hard, and I love
Yeah.
hearing that. I love it. I
Yeah.
mean, I just like, man, because they are truly a representation of me in my business, and so I wouldn't expect anything less from them, because that's not. I would never ask my guys to do anything that I wouldn't do, and to be them to be able to talk to customers, and to get to know them, and be friendly to them, and professional. I mean,
Do
goes a
you
long way.
find do you find a lot of your crews, like, I mean, you got some good guys, but that they don't want to talk to like a person, right? Because I find
Some
like a
don't.
lot of our guys are like, let's just do the work and get out of here. And
Yeah,
it's like, can you just say hi to Mary Sue real quick and ask
yeah,
her if her year's going good? Like just
right.
something.
Some don't, but there's and I can't, I mean, some just don't have the personality to do that, or like they're a little, reclusive. So, and it's fine, but
Yeah.
I just have I all I need is one guy out there, that on my crew to do it, and like I said, I'm fortunate. I've got two guys on my crew that are both extremely personable, and they're knocking the door, and we always, before we leave, when all the lights are up, if that customer's home, we're gonna knock on the door and say, "Hey, why don't you come out and take a look and see what we did?"
Well,
And
there goes
and
that 5-star review again. It's like
they come
have
out, and
them.
the kids come out, and they're like, "Oh my god," and they love it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
So,
think
and
it's about them communicating the final last touch of like, hey, here's our workmanship. What do you think of our workmanship? Like,
yeah,
please say it to my face. I want
right,
to, and if it's not right,
exactly,
I'll fix it. And that just
yeah,
goes back to like how you, even when you first started your business, I was that way. But then I kind of maybe strayed off of it a little bit because you're just trying to take on more. And it's like, are we thinning ourselves out a little bit? Can we keep up with that quality control a little bit? Can
yeah,
we keep adding that really what makes Murphy Christmas Lighting special? Um,
right.
how to keep that going as you scale. That, I mean, I think that's a whole topic in itself, you know what I mean?
It
But I
is. It's tough when you're scaling your business. Boy, I mean, it's a very fine line between quality control, customer service, and growing, right? And there's gonna always be some growing pains, and I get it. I mean, I just
oh, he froze again. You're about to go on a riff. Let's bring him out and back in. See if he's probably riffing right now. Let's go to a commercial break. Well, while John tries to come back, let me take this on a commercial break and talk to you about lightsatwholesale.com. You can visit lightsatwholesale.com here
there
and go
I am.
to permanent
All
light
right.
training. I'm plugging I'm plugging in a little commercial because you got out of it. I was just gonna bring up Lights at Wholesale, tell them about the training that we have. I'd really like to get you in on some of this training. I know the last one was last minute, but I try to get you
Would
in
love
here.
to.
But you can go to Invislight's Permanent Light Training.
Okay.
John, I'm hoping we'll be there soon. I just added it today with Porter at Lights at Wholesale. It's going to be May 23rd. So be on the lookout for that, for a Texas training there. We do have some regular Christmas light training coming up. It may be a compilation of dates. Lots of stuff is happening. I'm going to try to announce it this next week, but I know a lot of guys really want the Christmas training and then also the permanent light training. And so we're going to have a group of people that are going to be teaching that. So that's pretty exciting there. So again, lightsatwholesale.com, go to training, and Vince Lights training, and you can get it there. So yeah, John, as I plug that was my little outro, just while we get you back on board.
Yeah.
You're about to go on a soapbox and stuff, but let's talk about the technician training and soft skills for those guys. We talked a little bit about, like, what I liked is that you said that, look, I only need one guy on a crew to really be a good communicator. So as
Right.
you build out your crews, is like, well, you could have a guy that's a weak guy who doesn't want to talk to anybody. And it's like, if they're outside the door gluing the archway or something like that, and the main guy is talking on the roof, then it comes into like, well, that customer opens the door, you didn't introduce yourself, and they're like, hey,
Right.
what are you doing here? Like, that's red flag number
Yeah.
one. And then
Yeah.
the guy who's actually communicate is on the roof. So then it's
Yeah.
like, the guy who doesn't want to communicate, it's like, oh, we're here for Christmas lights. He's like,
Yeah.
well, good to know. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you guys
Right.
doing the roof line in the archway, right? Red and
Yeah.
white, right? And the guy's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to talk to you.
Well,
It's
I guess.
like,
Yeah.
hey, John, right. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, look at the lights. We're prepping the lights right now. Like, it's like, I'm
Yeah.
just joking. It's just sometimes you can get like, I remember the old days where it's kind of like, did you look at the quote? And it's like, no, I just was
Right.
following your lead. And it's like, oh my gosh, so,
They-
but,
I
but
mean, unfortunately, you're not like lying about this, right? I mean, you're not making this up.
no, I
This is
live this life,
this is
dude.
part this is part of the business. The hardest part I've always told anyone is finding good workers, right? Good labor. It's tough.
Yeah,
And you and I have had this conversation even, back in, 2015. And I was like, Joey, man, where do you find your guys? Because I mean, I've got guys that can barely tie their shoelaces, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And let alone get on a roof. And so it's hard. I mean, and when
And
you do,
I didn't have a good answer for you. I was like,
yeah,
wow,
no,
I'm out
yeah.
here struggling too, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think everyone is, but I mean, find that guy who hold on grim death because it's that guys that are one comfortable on the roof and two, have can are not afraid to talk to. But we knock on the. I tell my guys, do not start putting lights up until you knock on a door first, or at least unless I give them the okay. I'll tell my guys, hey, they're just go ahead and start, or I'll tell them though, if they're home, you knock on the door and let them know you're there.
yeah,
Because I mean, you don't just hopping on a roof and all of a sudden they come out like someone's walking, like come on. So just I always try to give my customers a heads up. I mean,
yeah.
it's just I think it's common courtesy, one, and two, it's
So do
it's
do you do it, or
unprofessional.
does your crews do it, like, on the way, like, in the app or something, like, if you
Both,
have a CRM?
both,
They do
yeah,
both?
both. I'm in constant communication with my guys. Like, I'll tell them like, hey, I mean, I got GPS on my truck too, so I know
Yeah,
I know how long they've been at, and I'll give my customers a heads up. Hey, guys will be there in 30 minutes, so just a heads up. If and some they'll say, oh, okay, great, we're home, so just let us know we're going to be here. We need to
yeah.
move cars, or which is, hey, we're at dinner right now. And I just ask them, hey, is it okay if we just get started then? And they're like, yeah, go ahead, and if you need anything, just let me
Well,
know.
I think a big part of it is, like, I think one thing that people, or maybe I may be guilty of, is that we become a bigger company, and then what happens is we create automation within there, and then it's like, no, you're booked, like, look through your portal, and we start removing the customer around the process of hanging the
Right.
lights. So, like,
Yeah.
we almost take pride in, all you have to do is approve quote and sign, and
Hmm.
your lights, everything will be done for you. You don't need to even lift a finger.
Hmm.
Like, we're a full turnkey service, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, but I don't know if that's the best method to do. Like what you're saying, no, I'm involved even in, hey, we're going to be on your site. We're on the way. Hey, we're on the way. I gave you a phone call. Hey, do you have any last minute things you wanted to add? Maybe they were like, hey, we really were on the fence about a color. And you're like, hey, color changes are $50 to $75 per more
Right.
because we're wasting on the job site. You should approve that with your quote. And they're like, I know, just hit me with the 75 and let's go with the different one. But
Hmm.
you did it, you affected it last minute, but they were part of the process.
Right.
Maybe they were hesitant, like you said about the flowers, that maybe they had
Hmm.
transplant shock and they died. Did you do the
Hmm.
follow up because they subconsciously were like, they approved the quote. We thought that's what you wanted. Maybe they
Right.
approved the quote and then they're like, hey kids, next week lights are going up. It's gonna be multicolor. They're like, multicolor, the same as last year. No, and it's like, well, now I want to make my kids happy, but I approved the quote. Now I'm going to get hit with the penalty. That
Right.
$75 maybe worth it to them to
Yeah.
be able to make it. And it's like, well, were we part of did we keep the customer part of the process? And I feel
Yeah.
like maybe that is a little more. You shouldn't just sign and forget about it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's not the service that they want it to be, because the other thing is you have to get it exact, right? Like if a
Right.
bulb is out, it's like, want, right? And so it's
Right.
like, if you had a wedding events, we go to the job site that day the event is happening to make sure everything's running. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, usually when you install this, it's an event for the family to come outside and you power it up. And then they're like, oh, wow, here's this experience thing. But did you get them involved in the process while the process was happening? Or
Right.
did you just get them to do a remote quote and approve it? Or did you, like,
Yeah.
before we came, we gave them a call and we're like, is there a new gate code? We have a little checklist we roll through.
Yeah.
Hey, get into the community. Is there a new code? It's the code from last year. Like, no, that changed. right? And
Hmm.
it's like,
Hmm.
it's being very intentional about your processes. But I do
Right.
feel like talking to you, just coming through me, is that we're keeping the customer out of the process when we should be getting them a little bit more of the process. They just don't want to hang the lights, like the risk and the skill. That's just, they want the end result. They want to be part
Right.
of the result. If they could, I know you got customers that would probably be out there while you're doing it, right? Which no
Oh yeah.
contractor likes, you know what I mean? But to be
Right.
honest with
Right.
you, they're going to give you a 5-star review because you're doing
Yeah.
everything they're asking, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a
And,
bad thing. You know?
you know, I don't know the answer to that, Joey, but maybe there's a way to, because technology, helps with efficiency, and it's important. But maybe there's a way to integrate some personalization with the technology, right? To kind of be able to have that communication, personal communication with the customer, not just because I think initially, I think any customer just wants the easeability of to get a price, like how much it's going to cost, without
Yeah,
having
easy.
to maybe talk, without having like, I don't want you to come out and talk to me and sell me on anything. I just like, how much is it, right? But
Yeah.
there's a little more to it than just clicking like clicking through some some options, and all of a
Checklist.
sudden boom,
Yeah.
yeah, checklist, and then oh boom, it's going to be $700 or 1,000 this, and I mean, because there's other questions that you can ask this customer, and I think that's where the value add is like, hey, we're not just clicking a box to get a price, but we want to find out what are you really looking for, right? Do you really want this? How important is this art? I mean, or how do you really want your windows? Do you want all the windows done, or you just want like 4 windows done, or and those are things that conversations that you should have with the customer, and it makes them, you're selling not just your product, but you're selling yourself a little bit too, right? I mean,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it's a
like
decent
you
one.
said, is you get to understand and hear what your customer wants because it's too
Yeah,
dynamic, right? There's too many different roofing styles, then there's gutter
absolutely,
guards, and it's
absolutely.
just, you can't create like a little spit of this, but they do want like, well, what's the range? And you're like, well, what's your budget? And let's design around that. It's
Yeah,
like, do you want
yeah,
just 4 windows or all window? How important are windows to you? And you're like, well, really, I watched Home Alone. My kids want Home Alone. And it's like, okay, well, they
yeah.
want this, and it's going to take this to look like that. But if you don't, and you don't want it to look like that, you could do like archway, window, and a wreath or whatever. And it's like you're gonna spread it out. You're gonna hit all your goals. You're gonna have some during the daytime, and
Mhm.
it's gonna keep within that price range. That's what you
Right.
want, right? And then
Yeah,
they're like, you know what? Let's go with this. I think it's gonna be better. I think there's something during the daytime when I bring them home. I think, and it just, now it's like your customer didn't know what they want, because let's be honest with you, if they were the expert, they would be doing it themselves, or
right,
maybe they are
right.
experts but they don't have the crews. So you're like, I hung Christmas lights
Yeah,
12 years ago,
yeah.
and you're like, get out of here, back in my incandescent days, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not the thing. So,
Right.
but I do think that technology integration, it can go good, but then I think
Yeah,
you need to have, like what
absolutely.
John Chen is saying, it's that personal touch. And so like with you is like, what is your steps? Is you just see the jobs come up? You're very intentional about each job. You close each job or something. Do you have anything like, a reminder to follow up with this person, or like tasks in your schedule? Is that automated to do the reminder? And you're like, okay, here are all my
Like if I
reminders.
get
I got one of these. Like, what is it?
no, man, I don't have any of that. Honestly, I'm kind of old school. I just keep a schedule, but I get customers too that they contact me, and I'll do some texting with them. But if I get this feeling like they're asking questions,
Oh, you froze again.
we can meet, and talk about this in person, because and I want to get in front of them, especially on big jobs. Like those, when they're bigger jobs. I feel like I need to be in front of them to ask them questions. They can ask me questions, because you can only do so much over texting, right? And then, but it goes back to just like, hey, if I get FaceTime with them, I know I can get their business,
Yeah. Well,
because
that's
like,
you being a salesman, right? Is I think when you take, so like even when you look at sales, and it's like, how do I do the sales? Like you can text somebody, you can
hmm,
call somebody. So texting is no visual, it's no voice.
right,
Then you can
exactly,
call somebody. Now it's voice. Now you can put, like when you hear my voice over the phone, it clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even some of the best businesses is like, once you hear that voice, I always say yes to this voice, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's my guy. Right. And that's why Chelsea's good at what she does. Is like, oh, once I hear Chelsea's voice, I know she's going to take care of everything.
Exactly.
You're gonna, all of it's washed away. Right. When I hear your
Right.
voice. And
Right.
then it's face to face. So now it's body language and
Yeah.
voice. And that's what like if we had a podcast in person, it would be a little bit different of a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
we're going off body language and everything in person
Right.
in real time. So
Right.
even the Zooms and stuff don't do it. Like, can you close a sale via Zoom? That's better than in like not being in person, right?
Yeah,
Like
but
a
not
text
so
or
much the
quote
same.
is
Yeah.
definitely better. But
Yeah.
then it's like, well, now when you're in person quoting, now there's the body language, your persona, how you stand. Like, I've been working out like crazy, drinking protein shakes. Like, I'm back in it, John. Right? Like, this is like, I'm getting into fire, like
I
fighting
can
weight.
tell,
You know what I
man.
mean? But
Um,
it's like, I've definitely shaved some stuff down. But even that, with like the state troopers and stuff for Texas and even in Louisiana, they
mhm.
do the rowing machine and the VO2 max and stuff. And they actually pay incentives for guys to be fit, because when you show up on
Yeah.
scene, people trust people more that are fit and take care
Right.
of themselves, right? Like, you
Right.
have it together. It seems like you got it together. And you're
Yeah.
like, it
Yeah.
ain't
Yeah.
together,
Right.
but I at
Right.
least look like I got it together. But, and so with that is like, we talked about first impressions and customer service and like how you look, your professionalism and everything.
Yeah.
But that professionalism, when you have the t-shirt, when you're talking like how we talk, we're very passionate about what we do. They can read that in person. So like you're saying,
Absolutely.
if I get in the room, it's game over. I'm so confident in my sales skills.
Right.
And anybody who does sales and you say that and you tell them that and they're like, yeah, I can
Yeah.
do that. Well,
Yeah.
get them in another room with another good salesman, and man, they
Oh yeah.
both can even psychologically read off each other and know what they're doing, and it's just it's a very, I call it the art of the sale, and it's very interesting on like even
Yeah.
bigger bids and stuff of how people
Sure.
do the sales and get the sales. It's very interesting to me. So
One of
um,
it's I my one of my issues I have is being able to scale, because I'm a kind of a one man show right now. So right now I feel like where I'm at, with if I took on any more business, I would have to get like a second crew or a third crew
yeah,
to be able to sustain my business model, right? Of keeping that that customer service and that quality that we're putting out there, that we built this business on. So you know, people don't believe me when I say this, but I all of my customers, I mean, I will book out my whole Christmas light season with my existing customers, and I'll be full. I lose about 10% of my business, but the reason why I'm losing it is because they moved. And people don't believe, like, so you're saying that people don't leave just because they get a better price. And I'm like, I can't think of one, because I mean, I really honestly can't. And I feel like it goes back to, because I mean, because I'm not gouging anybody. I mean, I'm charging a competitive price. It's probably similar or same to what they're, the quotes they're getting anyway from somewhere else. But I mean, I I feel like it goes back to, I don't lose customers because we're not doing what we're doing. I lose customers because they either moved, or they got a divorce, or they plain don't have the money for it this year. They lost a job,
but
but
it's never because of your service.
it's never been because someone wasn't happy with us, or I've never lost someone said, oh, I got a better price somewhere else. And even if they did, I'd be like, well, that I'm glad you did, good luck to you. And
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to lose business. I just haven't. And I was telling someone this and they didn't believe me. And I'm like, I swear, I can't.
Well,
I haven't lost any customers. I mean, I've got 165, 66, like, of the same customers I had for the last 5, 6 years. I just haven't
yeah.
lost any, and it's just from growth. But I do lose some because they lose. I end up growing a little bit every year with some new customers. I just don't lose them. I just don't lose them because, like I said, unless it's for a reason outside of my control.
Yeah. No, that speaks volume of like how you're operating your business currently, right? Is like, and then it goes into like what we were talking about before, when you try to scale up and then things start slipping just a little bit because nobody's watching that guy, and it's like, oh, oh, we buy cutters for our crews, and it's like, well, now you have 3 crews and you start losing 10 cutters because they got
Yeah.
left in a gutter or
Right.
this or that. And
Right.
like it becomes more money, more problems, right? Like
Yeah.
you bring in more money and now
Right.
you hire a guy that's not as quality, but you know what? He's the guy who shows up and it's like he does okay. He's like a 15% guy. And it's like I got a 5% guy, a 10% guy, and a 15. It's like I can't
Yeah.
pair the 10 and the 15 together. That
Right.
10 will turn
Yeah.
into that 15, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like
Exactly. Yeah. Bad habits. Right.
right? And it's like, well, keep the 10% guy off on like little brush jobs or something, and then get those two paired together. Now you got a guy training a guy to get up the 15, and maybe you can get him to
Right.
the 10, and like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, but you end up slipping a little bit. And that's
Yeah.
where it's like, well, when you try to scale, it's like, well, you always have the same intentions of when you started. It's customer service. If we mess up, we fix it. We mess up, we fix it.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
limit the amount of mess ups as much as possible. And
Sure.
it's really hard because this is like when you break through to like multiple trucks, what happens is like you make, I'm going to just use round numbers, $100,000. Then you go
Hmm.
to hire a truck and a crew, and it's like all the materials, all the salary between the guys,
Double
everything
everything.
else is like you're going to knock yourself down to like 25 grand. And like you'll
Yeah.
do 25 grand on equipment, 25 grand for the guy,
Yeah.
25 grand for the guy, and then
Yeah.
you're going to get 25 grand. So
Right.
each person in the whole business is making the same as,
Yeah.
but the person that's at the advantage is the owner, because if he can scale it just a little bit, then he can hire more guys and more
Right.
guys. And
Right.
it's just this model, right? But
Hmm.
the problem is like getting those systems and integrating the technology to where
Hmm.
you don't have your guys think as much when they go on site. Oh, I need to hire an assistant now to manage all the schedule and move stuff around because it's too much to move. I need an assistant to communicate. Well, all 3 crews are actively working. We actively communicate with those. It just becomes a way more robust operation. And it's like,
Sure.
will you lose more people where before you only had 1 truck maybe, and then it was like, well, we lose 10% organically through divorces, moving houses, something
Right.
out of our control, not our service. Now when you added those trucks, what is acceptable? Is it okay to lose 5% because you're growing 30% more? And it's like,
Right.
well, if we lose 5% because of our service, we had 0 before.
Hmm.
Now we have 5%. We need to
Hmm.
stop that right now. And it's like, how do you get it to stop it? It's all dynamic. Like I said, the characteristics of the guys you hired, you got a 15, 20% guy over here,
Yeah.
and it's just like,
Right.
hey, I really need you to train this guy. I know you don't get paid for training, but I'm going to pay you to do training, and I'm going to pay you a little extra. Okay. Let's
Right.
get, let's fix this guy and get him better. And that's the stuff where you operate a year-round business, so you probably see it a little bit more than I do. We get seasonal stuff with like high influx, and it's very hard to like even manage that in a seasonal business because if guys aren't
100%.
working out, you got to cut them like immediately. Like
Right.
you don't have time to train them and like build them
And
up.
you and I talked about that. Like, I had a guy that kept forever, and you're like, man, like,
Oh yeah,
you just because I'm like, how do I
forgot
lose
about
it? How do I get rid of this guy? And you're like, you just got to get rid of him. Like, when
yeah.
it's time, and you just got to deal with it. And I was like scared because I was like, anybody else, but I wish I would have listened to you because I really should have gotten rid of him. You know, 5 years
But you had a
ago.
history, right? Like you had a history,
Yeah.
which makes it even
Yeah.
harder.
'Cause, yeah, he was with me for 15 years, but if I didn't have the firefighting business, I would feel more comfortable scaling and growing because I'd be more hands on. But I'm just limited, right now. So
Well,
I
that's the
don't
game
I
you're
really
playing,
don't.
though, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I just
Like how can
I'm
you
like
compare yourself to like where you would be if you just focus on it? Like that's you can't compare that because you are doing this whole other thing on the side. It's full
yeah,
time,
yeah,
with the training commitment and everything else. Is like if I was still doing firefighting, there's no way I could do what I do. It
yeah. I
wouldn't
mean,
exist, you know.
you're running all day, all night. I know you are. I mean, and I mean, I miss seeing you those several years when you were doing the lights out at that drive through deal that you had there.
Yeah.
I know that almost killed you, but it goes back to that kind of like that whole deal about FaceTime stuff because you were the person that I met and you were the face of Murphy Christmas lighting and I went years without seeing you and I was like man I was like because I always loved coming in and I learned all these like little tidbits about the business from you and then you were gone all the time and nothing. I love Jonathan, but I mean, he wasn't the same, because he didn't have that. He didn't have that operational or that side of that business
Nah.
knowledge like he did.
Yeah, he's the systems guy, but he ain't gonna
Yeah,
talk about like the operations. And you're like, I need
yeah,
operational talk right now, right
right.
now, right now.
I
So
mean,
you missing the Murphy FaceTime, huh?
oh
You got
yeah, man, I missed it for 3 or 4 years, man. I'm like, where's Joey at? Because I'd go pick up product, and I was like, I want to pick your brain about something, and you were never around. I'm like,
yeah, you're like at that drive through, and it's like,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah. So tell let's wrap this up and
yeah,
do any final last few words for the viewers. And like you were said, if you have anything that maybe we were doing exceptionally well, I know last year we actually you were saying that at the open house was like, hey man, I haven't seen you in a while and I don't like it. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
well, then this past year is I was more because I wasn't
You
doing
were,
the drive and
yeah,
everything else. And I
you
was
were
more
around last
around.
year.
I could talk a little bit more. And then now with the lights at wholesale, merger
Yeah,
acquisition thing is now I'm able to do stuff like this, right? Like one of the
right.
big complaints you had was I want to up to date of all new products at all times when they are released. And I was like, we don't do that very well. Well, that's one of the things that I'm working on right now is I was giving you glimpses of like before we got started of like stuff I'm working on to be
Yeah,
able to offer that type of FaceTime. But when
mm,
we have the FaceTime is like, what can I even offer you now? And what's different now is I'm able to have those hard, like those bigger conversations in season when most people are blowing going. They don't want to give you the time of day.
yeah,
Customer service with lights at wholesale and what we're trying to do here, it's of the utmost important. It is number one. Like John said, is like,
yeah.
this customer service is my mission statement. That's what you said. Is
Yeah,
like it
it
doesn't
is.
get any bigger than that. That is our mission, is
Yeah,
to satisfy our customers. Like I don't want to put anything else in there. That's what it is.
yeah,
And so that's what I want to do with Lights at Wholesale this next season, get everybody their orders and everything. But for you, to anybody who's viewing, what is your kind of goal, your business goal this year? What are you trying to achieve? You still trying to operate how you do, just improve the quality? Is there anything you're battling? Anything that these guys may be going through that they can comment on?
yeah. I think kind of the biggest takeaway from this, Joey, is that is that we have to get in the mindset of taking care of these customers that we have, because like, look, at the end of the day, uh, the reason why you got to take that Christmas trip with your family, or that you took that spring break trip, is because these customers paid for that. I mean, and we need to remember that. Like, we need to treat them well. They're paying for, they probably they bought my Christmas presents this year, right? I mean, or they,
Yeah.
whatever
They
it
fed
is.
your family. Yeah.
Yeah, they put food on my table, and so I always try to keep that in mind. Is like, hey, let's just go a little above and beyond. Let's not be so churn and burn, and and keep just make as much as possible, because it's not just about the money. It's like, we got the money will come, but we got to take care of our customers, right? I mean, there's too many fly by night people out there that are putting lights up, and the biggest complaint I have these days, like, people putting lights up and they're not coming to take them down. I mean, who does
Yeah.
that, right? I mean, I think it's horrible to do that to somebody. I've taken several lights down for free for people, just because, like, we're out taking lights down, and someone come, hey, how much would you charge me to take these lights down? My guy ghosted me. I'm like, man, I'll just take them down. It takes me minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
and then I gain a customer that way too. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But at the end of the day, like, hey, I'm trying to do the right thing here, and
You're
and just
raising the industry a little bit, by like if
yeah,
people messing it up is
yeah.
having it that way.
So
One I did see a podcast recently. I'll just chime in here a little bit, and it was the guy from Dirty Jobs, and I think he was like on Theo Vaughn or something like that.
yeah,
And he was saying like about all the tariffs and manufacturing, and like there's so many manufacturing jobs even open right now that like Americans don't want to do manufacturing, but then we're saying we do want to do manufacturing. And it's like we can create the jobs. Like with Dirty Jobs is everybody was shoveling, and it was all these like hard working blue collar jobs.
right,
I do
yeah,
view Christmas lights as blue collar. You're up on a roof,
yeah, yep,
there's risk to it. You have ladders, you're hooking up
mhm,
trailers and prepping stuff, and it's
outdoors,
like a
yeah,
construction job. I view it
yeah,
like I call it decorative construction,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
kind of the game we're in, right?
right, yeah,
And he was like, I have like the blue collar workforce, like I've been speaking about it for so long, but then it's like what the problem is not creating the jobs. Like that's what he was saying. He was saying that I need to get people excited about picking up a shovel, right?
Yeah.
Because Americans don't want to pick up a dang shovel.
Right.
I mean, we do. We have construction that goes around. There is people in construction. I'm not saying we don't. What I'm saying is like the reason why I bring this up is because when he said I wanted to get people excited about picking up a shovel, it was like about just getting active, you know, and like
Yeah.
throw that ladder. Who cares if you got to throw that ladder and change out that bulb a second time? Customer service. So I think with what you're kind of saying is it goes back into that patriotic American way of like when growing a business is good customer service has to be there on point. It has to be there, or
Yeah.
else the whole thing crumbles and it doesn't work. And so if, like he said, I want to get people excited about picking up a shovel. I want to get people excited about customer service again. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I want it to be very intentional. I want you to build your business around it. And then that goes into like referral programs. Like you'll get more leads just by your clients being happy. And you're like, would you recommend it? Is this a 5-star thing? And would you recommend another one of your friends to us? Oh, here's the referral a friend link. And here's the link to the Google. Can you please do this for us? It would help our business out. And it's just, did you get FaceTime saying that? Right? Like you're saying, like, you don't say that over a text. You make it very, very intentional. And that's what I wanted to kind of end on with what you were saying was about getting people excited about customer service again, because I see a lot of bigger businesses that, like Chelsea was saying, the manager, the on-site supervisor is wearing flip-flops. That's not the greatest customer service.
No.
And the same thing with what you're saying and how you kind of treat customers. Are you going to knock on their doors? Let's get excited about talking to the customers again.
Let's get them involved. I mean, they want to be involved also. I mean, they want to be able to see what you're doing a little bit. I mean, don't be afraid to let them watch what you're doing, as long as they're not like impeding your work, you know, and stuff like that. But, trying to tell you what to do and what not to do, because you are the professional. And I mean, I don't have any problems telling them like, hey, look, you know, Mr. Customer, like we've been doing this a long time. Let us just do our work, like, and we'll get this done. And then if anything's wrong, we'll talk about it. Or if you don't like something, we'll talk about it. But let us get started. Let us do what we do, and then we can discuss it. But if you're my guys to, you know, put lights up here or string lights out for them, it's not really helping us. As much as I appreciate your willingness to help, it's not helping us.
Oh yeah, it's getting in the way.
Yeah, it's getting in the way. But you know, there's a nice way to do it, you know. But I mean, I have no problems letting customers watch what we do, because I mean, it's their house.
Not scared. Well, you're not scared of your workmanship or your service or how you talk to your crew and stuff. You know, it's like, because sometimes people have to button themselves up and they're like, man, the boss never talks like that when we at the warehouse. You know, it's like,
I know.
So it just seems like you're always true to yourself, true to your customers, true to your employees. And I think it's never a losing scenario when you can do all those things. It's a very difficult thing to do because it's a very emotional ride with a business and everything else. But that's why we do it too. It's because it's hard. And I think what you said on here, John, was amazing. I think that your customer service is to the utmost. I think people should definitely follow you on your platforms. I know you're on Facebook a little bit. And if you want to just plug in kind of where people can find you, a little bit about your business, about like the contact information, like your phone number and stuff, in case anybody's watching and they want to get some lawn and stuff, just plug that in real quick.
A Cut Above Landscaping 01 at oh gosh, you're gonna make me think of my website now. But my number is 214-293-0554, and Facebook, you know, we're A Cut Above Landscaping. There's my website.
It's A Cut Above Landscaping 01.
There's an email above right there too. cutabove1968 at yahoo.com.
There you go.
But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be around for the long haul. You know, I love what we do, and you know, I really truly enjoy dealing with my customers. It's, you know, that's 80% of the business for me, honestly, is just, you know, time with my customers, my clients. And, you know, I mean, and I love the guys that work for me too. They're awesome. So I feel very fortunate. There's always going to be challenges, but I mean, I think as long as you stay focused on what your core value is and what you're trying to accomplish, I mean, you know, you're going to be successful. But take care of your customers. That's kind of like the you know, the takeaway. for me is like, just take care of your customers, they'll take care of you.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching stuff that's 100% a fact, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying to reach out, like really just communicate with your customers more. I don't think you could do it enough,
Yeah.
or at least you could be doing it better than what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You can bug your customers too much, but at least
Yeah,
put some
absolutely.
energy and effort into it and kind of
Yeah.
make it a big part of your business because it does affect it. It is an ingredient in your business that
Mhm.
can make yourself thrive, and I feel like that's why you're as successful as you are is because customer service. And I love what you stand for, John. And I love your continued support in business, especially as we move to lights at wholesale and everything. I know you're going to be a loyal client. You're going to be coming in and you're going to be picking our brain about, hey, I got this new project and this and
Oh
that,
yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
I always, I
but
always, I always enjoy the knowledge, Joey. Yeah, I mean, you've been a huge asset for me. I really have. Just even, anything just from like the small little tidbits of information you give me. I mean, you're definitely a wealth of knowledge. I mean, you definitely, you know what you're doing out there. So I always learn something every time I talk to you.
appreciate that, man. Cause I quit firefighting for it. It's like, this is my craft now. And
Well,
this is just,
I love what you're doing too. I believe in what you're doing as well. I mean, I think that's why we probably fit so well together. Is that I think we're both, I think we're both know how important it is to take care of our customers too.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I
We're
appreciate your time. I appreciate
definitely
you.
thinking aligned, and I do appreciate all the kind words with it. So,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
if you need something in the DFW area, call John at Cut Above. Again, that was at Cut Above Landscaping 01.com. You can get all his information there. I know he's on Facebook too, so add him there. And if you guys need any training, go to lightsatwholesale.com, permanent lighting training. We're going to have another training. I think I said it was May 23rd. It's going to be announced there, but we're also going to have other training coupled with it. So be on that where it's a multi-day training that we're probably going to announce like next week. And there will be a couple dates there. We have multiple locations, Utah, Indiana, North Carolina, and Texas. So especially when you buy lights from lightsatwholesale.com, you got a whole team nationally that's working for you. And if I really do appreciate you coming on here, John, saying some kind words about us. I do appreciate that. And I wish you nothing but the best for the rest of the year. So far, it's a good 2025 so far.
Absolutely. It's been great. So I appreciate you having me on here. It was fun.
Yeah, man. Let's maybe we'll get you on like a group one or something. We get like a bunch of people involved. Maybe
That'd
make
be
it
great.
like a whole firefighter thing. You know
There
what I
you
mean?
go. There's
Get some
plenty
of
of
your buddies.
firefighters out there that are installing lights. So
Yeah, we could just talk crap about firefighting and Christmas lighting at the
that'd
same
be fun.
time.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, man.
All
Well,
right.
take
Take
it
care.
easy. I appreciate it.
All right, Joey.
All right, bye.